Hurricane Ida has affected more than just New Orleans. The mainstream media and most news outlets have only reported the effects on New Orleans and the greater New Orleans area. They did not focus on the damage and absolute devastation that has occurred down the bayou in Cajun country. It is forgotten that the worst of the impacts of Hurricane Ida has been in southeast Louisiana, in Cajun country, in Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes. So often do people forget this part of the country, this part of America that is so rich in culture and history of not just the Cajun people, but also the indigenous people and the new African or black people who live down here. And I'll get to the Black Belt in a second. Acadiana, as it's usually called, is the name that we have given to the Cajun country, the Cajun nation, so to speak. It has completely been mauled over by a powerful storm like Ida, which was not nearly as deadly as Katrina, but the damage was comparable in multiple senses and aspects. Acadiana was hit hard. Still to this day, people do not have power or running water. People still line up to get MREs by the US government, which has occupied us like a foreign territory. And that doesn't even compare the damage that has happened in Laplace and in St. Charles Parish along the Mississippi River, the heart of the Black Belt, which was absolutely destroyed by floodwaters that have overtopped the levees, comparable to that of Katrina. However, it has hit a sparsely populated area, or less populated area, I should say. And so, the mainstream media has completely forgotten about the Black Belt and Acadiana, which is still suffering from the storm. We are still suffering down here, but we are rebuilding. We are a strong people. And despite what all the naysayers say, the people who say, oh, why do you live there? This is home for us. We have nowhere else to go. To us, this is the front line. This is us surviving climate change. Now, I'm not a climate change doomer by any means, but we must acknowledge the fact that climate change poses a major challenge to our civilization down here. It poses a major threat to our nation down here, to the Louisiana nation, or I should say nations, because it's not just one nation. There's multiple nations existing under this state that has been carved out by French, Spanish, and Anglo-American colonialism. That form of colonialism still exists down here in Louisiana. We are the highest rate of cancer patients in the entire nation. We have the worst cases of COVID in the entire country of America. People down here suffer adverse health effects from the amount of pollution down here in Cancer Alley along the Mississippi River. To this day, oil companies carve out channels and make our coastline even weaker and weaker, making storms even stronger and stronger. They will keep getting away with it. And we must rise up against this capitalism that has encroached on Louisiana, that has destroyed our way of life. The oil companies in the early 20th century, in the early 1900s, completely destroyed the French language so that they can have good workers who can only speak English. This form of assimilation, or Americanization, has completely bulldozed over the French culture that was here. It no longer exists in the form that it once was. And unlike Quebec, we have a vast majority of people here speak English. That doesn't mean that the French speakers are gone, though. Down south, a small town called Pointe-aux-Chenes, there's a group of Indians down there that speak primarily French. Most of the coastal peoples, particularly the indigenous tribes, are the torchbearers of the French language in Louisiana. They are on the forefront of the eroding and dying coast. Cajun country is also on the eroding and dying coast. And the Black Belt, too, is also on the precipice of change and climate disaster. Together, we have to find a solution for this, work together, and build a better future for all peoples, for all nations, to truly realize the socialist ideal, and to have a Louisiana that can survive climate change in the 21st century. And if things continue, we won't have a Louisiana by the end of the 21st century. And this is where I'm an optimist. I believe that the Louisiana people, who are good people, could come together and build something new. That is what I believe with this project of Dying Coast, on giving a platform to Louisiana and Louisiana voices, so that one day we can build our future, so that our dying coast can become a living coast.